Hi, and welcome back to my channel. This week I have a shorter video planned, shorter than my normal videos. I wanted to introduce the concept of book talks, at least how I have used them in teaching and how I plan to use them here on the channel. And it won't take me very long. The video would have been slightly longer because I was going to give a sample book talk, but I left the book that I was going to do the book talk on in my classroom library. So we will save that book for an actual book talk. Now, I first encountered the idea of book talks when I read this book, Book Love by Penny Kittle. I had the opportunity to go to a consortium, a type of professional development, my first year of teaching. And I was teaching ELA, which I love to read, obviously, and write, but I hadn't ever taught ELA, and I was so nervous starting out. And hearing from Penny Kittle just invigorated, jump-started my love for it. And so I wanted to get her books. And I read this one and automatically thought, okay, I want to build out the best classroom library. She shows pictures and stuff and whenever she speaks, and she has such a phenomenal classroom library. And I wanted to be able to convey my love for books to my students. And so what I do with book talks is what she models here in this book. Now, this book does talk about more than just the book talks, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about book talks. She has a few steps that you should follow when you are giving a book talk. One of the most important things to do with a book talk is to actually hold the book, which is why even though I could talk about the book that I was going to in this video, it wouldn't really be a book talk because I wouldn't have the book. And what I did in my classroom is I would always do book talks on books I had in my classroom library. I would never do a book talk on a book that I couldn't, as soon as I finished the book talk and the student started reading, that I couldn't go back and grab for a student who came up to me and said, oh, I want to read that book. So having the actual book is key, because even though they could read it on this app that we have for our school system or on Overdrive or something, it seems more real to have the actual physical book. I also prefer the physical book. Second, and really importantly, you have to demonstrate your passion for the book. And it can be difficult because when doing book talks, I don't want to stick to books that are just books that I like, because as a teacher, I'm obviously not a middle schooler, and my middle schoolers like books that, frankly, I don't really have any interest in. But to get them interested in reading, I have to be able to help them find the books that they are passionate about, because if you're not passionate about reading, you're not going to read that book. And so I have had to learn how to read in such a way that I can see the benefits of books for a wide variety of people. In this case, a wide variety of students. And if you don't have that passion for the book, the students are going to be like, why on earth should I bother picking up that book, even if it sounds mildly interesting? I had a handful of times when I did this in my class where no one ever picked up that book because I had gotten to school that morning and realized, oops, I'm going to do a book talk today. What's a book I haven't done a book talk on? Okay, this one. And not spent a lot of time prepping or getting ready for it. And even though I chose a good book, my lack of preparation didn't convey any passion, so the kids didn't pick up the book. And it's really important, because if you rave about a book, kids are going to give it a try. I'm always really intentional to say, hey, you can give it a try, and if you don't like it, no problem. Set it aside for a new one. I have a hard time doing that myself because I'm stubborn, but my kids are great at DNFing books. And the third crucial piece is reading a passage from the book itself so that you can hear a bit of the author's voice. Now, when I choose passages, and this is usually the trickiest bit for me, but when I choose passages, I'm a little sneaky when I do that, and I try to choose passages that when I end, it makes it a cliffhanger so that the kids are like, ugh, why did you end there? Why won't you tell us what happened? I'll be like, you gotta read the book. So after like the 5th or 6th time, they're like, really? Really? But then they were still interested in the book. And of course, not every book has that. So in those cases where I couldn't choose a passage that sort of ended on a cliffhanger, I would choose passages that were just beautiful or illustrative of the author's voice, and hope that that would be enough to hook at least a handful of the readers. So going forward this year, since I'm finally teaching all social studies, which is my passion, I'm not going to be doing book talks in my class. I am going to be encouraging my books. I almost said encouraging my books to read. Encouraging my kids to read, at least my first class of the day, because we will have days during the week when they're supposed to read. But I won't be doing book talks. So I'm going to migrate those books over here to the channel. I had thought that I would start up right as the school year started, which we just finished the first week and are about halfway through the second by the time this video goes up. But as every teacher can tell you, we don't have a lot of time. So eventually I'm going to create a bunch of book talks, create sort of a backlog so that once or twice a week I can post those book talks here on the channel. And what I would love is, I don't know how to get this out to more middle school ELA teachers, but I would love to just be able to create a library of book talks for teachers to come to, and even if they don't show my video to their kids, maybe they're like, oh, I hadn't seen that book before, but I know my students would love it. And so I'm going to put it in my classroom library and include it. So that's just a little bit about what book talks are and what I hope to include on this channel going forward.